Manxiwa, amasimi. So that system has to ensure that nobody is discriminated against. But because in certain instances, a young man will not have a family, so the understanding is that what are you going to use that land for if you are not a family man? Similarly, a woman who does not have a family is not entitled automatically to have a piece of her own. They belong, those people, to their family homesteads. They are under the stewardship of their mothers and fathers. But because we know that in certain instances, women also do have families that they must provide for, their own children, even if they are married. So the law, the practice of customary law allows for such a person to acquire a piece of land. Similarly, a young man who wants a piece of land, maybe to run a business, a spaza shop and so on, they cannot be denied the right to have access to such piece of land. So hence we're talking about the recognition of the provisions of the Constitution at all material times. Well, on the matter of Spluma, the summit has acknowledged that there's work that is being done in Limpopo, where a bill is underway which is going to take away the deficiencies that have been identified by traditional leaders in Spluma as it now stands. Now, because the amendments of pieces of legislation tend to take a very long time, it has been sort of understood by us that this summit would like a process or a system to be put in place that is going to ensure that the example that seems to be working quite well for both government and traditional leadership in Limpopo can be replicated in other areas. But in essence, what this summit is saying is that Spluma's shortcomings must be attended to so that we do not lose out on the benefits that will come out of the operation of Spluma. But Spluma, obviously, this means where it has not been fashioned in a way that allows traditional leaders and their communities to participate in the planning of development, it's not going to be applicable. So it's a matter that must be attended urgently by government to ensure that no place remains behind because Spluma has not been made to accommodate the institution of traditional leadership in all its formations. And there are also laws and policies that seem to undermine cooperation between municipalities and traditional authorities. So the idea, therefore, is that laws like the Municipal Structures Act, the Demarcation Act, also needs to be amended so that they accommodate good working relations between traditional leaders and municipalities, which means, therefore, that EIGR must be made to function in a way that ensures that there's harmony between these systems of governance, which is municipal councils, particularly, and traditional council. But we also are saying, as we understood you, that even the other levels of governance, provincial government and national government, must make sure that there is cordial relations. There are cordial relations amongst them, so that, for instance, in some instances, national government department will want to introduce a project in a particular area, only to find that that project, for it to be implemented properly in terms of existing laws, it must go through the provincial government department. We find that they see differently to what the national department was the understanding of what needs to be done and how it is to be done. So there must be a way, therefore, of harmonizing the manner in which these levels of governance work with traditional leadership. So therefore, SALGA and COGTA are encouraged to devise a mechanism to enhance relations between municipalities and traditional leaders and other spheres of government. We recognize as this summit that there are institutions like trusts, in terms of which some communities gained land. There are also CPAs, in terms of which other communities gained the land. Now, if these trusts or structures like the CPA acquired land in terms of legislation, it has been established that there are strong bonds between these communities and the traditional communities that are under traditional leaders. So it's important, therefore, that there be flexibility to allow those people to benefit from the values that reside within the communities under traditional councils and so on. So here again, there must be a way of ensuring that this happen. For instance, people might have acquired this land, but only to find that they still have relations with neighboring communities. So if they want to be part of the neighboring communities under traditional authorities, then that must be facilitated so that we leave no one behind. Then there's the matter of Khoi and Zan communities. Well, this conference recognizes that the Khoi and the San communities, have been the first victims of colonialism. It recognizes the fact that the brutality that they suffered led them into losing a lot of what makes them to who they are. Including dispossession of land, dispossession of their culture, undermining of their culture, their languages, and so on. So this summit recognizes that as a fact. Now, at the same time, in terms of the legislation that is there, like the Restitution of Land Rights Act, allows members of the Khoi and San communities to apply in terms of the law for restoration of those land rights. A number of them have done that, but it seems as if because the Land Claims Act has not yet finalized all of these claims, both for Khoi and San communities and other communities. So we're calling upon then the department as well as the commission to expedite the restoration of those lands to these communities. In other words, we're saying all existing claims of the San and Khoi communities must be processed and finalized. Now, we also recognize that the government had taken a position which is in the Constitution that claims must be made with respect to land that was taken from 1913 onwards. We are saying, in spite of that, the Khoi and San communities must be allowed to identify land that they thought they would have been entitled to get back had that cut-off date not been put in place in the Constitution. Because one of the legs, the three legs on which land reform stands, is that of redistribution of land. We have land tenure reform, we have land restitution, we also have redistribution of land policy. Laws that facilitate that must be made use of. Resort to the amendment of the Constitution must be had when existing legislation is inadequate to facilitate the restoration or redistribution of land to people that are compromised by the 1913 Land Act cut-off date. Yes, I think that is what we understood to be your resolutions about matters that affect you. And as I said before, we are going to be given time by the Minister and the Deputy President to look at these resolutions properly so that they capture in a manner that satisfies people who are in this conference. Thank you very much.
Nkosi uHulumisa, because that was the mirror of what was discussed in the commissions. But I've got iman kaloku bani benkosi. Today is the last day, and we have to go back home. And we were given time to discuss these things in commissions. And Nkosi Holomisa said that these resolutions will be sent also to people that were part of this summit. Sifuna nje abantu abafuna clarity. Just few people. We are not going to open up a debate. And it's only 1 minute. No preambles. No preambles. It's one. I'll give two per row. That's it. 1, 2. Oh, it's back. Right at the back. Yes, you are number 2. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Is it on? Just to add about the question of land. Now, Frans Fanon, an Algerian revolutionary, he writes about land, and I quote him. He says, "For a colonized people, the most essential value, because the most concrete, is first and foremost the land. The land which will bring them bread and above all, dignity." Now, Madam Chair, land has caused the French Revolution because of the scarcity of bread. So now land to us, and we've put it. We are said, this act that has been signed by the President, the Traditional Leadership Khoisan Act, is not talking about land. Now a chief without land is nothing. So that must be urgently addressed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dad. Right at the back. Yes.
Thanks, Chair. I'm Billy Masha from Limpopo. I just want to check with you that these resolutions, how will they reach us? Because I don't remember us giving you details. And also whether these resolutions will form part of the legislations in Parliament as per the Constitution. And how will we be able to engage them at the level of Parliament? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Disaklena Goguru. Mama, no, the lady, yes. You'll be number 1, and right at the back, Mama Esosandla Senjenji, you are number 2. Over to you, Ma'am. Over to you, lady.
Kite says everyone. I sit here because I did put my hand up that side. That's why I came here. I thank God you chose me. I give my voice.
No.
Mommy, I give my voice.
No, you are not directing the program. So if you are not going to speak, sit down so that I can identify
I'm
another
going to
person.
speak. I'm going to
Okay.
speak. I'm Charmaine Daniels. I went for a DNA test. My DNA says it's LO. LO is scientifically proven that we are the oldest people in this world. Our title deed. Yeah, you can say, ha ha.
Don't listen to them.
Okay.
Please speak.
Our title deed is the rock art. Is the rock art everywhere in South Africa. Why are we being treated like foreigners in our own country? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Sandla sesibini apho at the back umama lo. Mama wena.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu thola ithuba umam Zondi ophuma kunafu. Bengisacela iclarity regarding inner boundary. Ngoba phela thina sigane ithembini bakithi.
Please let us respect the speaker on the floor.
Kuzokwenzekani ke izothi inner boundary izonikeza umamkhulu mina bese ngitholani kumamncane. Ngifisa ukuthi iclarity ifakwe lapho ngoba sigane ithembini futhi siya acknowledge lokho ukuthi kuzokwenzeka kanjani ne refusal ukuthi ipasswe on to ifamily first I right to refuse uma ngabe usudayisa lo mhlaba noma mhlambe ufuna ukusela ukuthi mhlambe kube nayo lokho exubekayo ukuthi aqale efamilini uyikhani kuphumela ngaphandle ngiyabonga
Enkosi mama mandize kuleni row. You are number 1, Dad. Order, please.
Vamos, Lalo.
No, please. You've been speaking. I did give you a chance to speak. And I've given the lady behind you to speak. Can you please respect this house? We are respecting you. I did give you a chance to speak. But you can't speak all the time as if you are the only person in this room. All the people that are here, they want to raise points of clarity. Please let us respect the speaker on the floor. Over to you, Dad.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mzalubambe, Dad. Over to you, DP.
Okay. Let's take a seat. Let's take a seat. Okay. We are going to take one speaker here. Who's going to speak? One. Okay. Oh, there are two. How many are you? One. No. We are going to take one speaker. Please. I want you to respect this meeting. Respect the meeting and respect the one who's chairing the meeting. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy President. It's important that we respect one another. We sat over here, leaders, and what we did is we worked tirelessly to ensure that the issues that we've got is raised. And when the Honorable Deputy Minister came now to capture what we said in our commission, the majority of the stuff is gone and missing. So now the Speaker, the Honorable Chairperson of the session, it wants to suppress us so that we cannot get, because when you bring this, the resolutions, our people who we represent is going to say, but there's 2 lines. All the time you spend so much time here, but you only have 2 lines to account for the 2 days that you've been sitting here. So it cannot be correct. So therefore we wanted to clear the issues with the people who captured the resolutions, and so here we go. So that's all we want to do. We do not want to disrespect anybody, Deputy President. It's not the intention. That's the only reason why we were rather prepared to step out now. Now we have asked you to look into the question of the 1913 section 25 subsection 7 of the Constitution, because it effectively keeps the Khoi and the San people outside of the land. And nobody's talking about that. So we're brushing over that. We say, no, we're just putting it. You cannot. This is a land summit. That's the reason why we are left outside on the periphery, and we say we cannot be sitting on the sidelines any longer while everybody else is discussing the land of our forefathers who lost their lives for this land. It cannot be right. So that's the one, Deputy President. We have to look at that. We cannot leave that one behind. The question the President has got an advisory committee, and that advisory committee has made as presented in 2019 already, has presented the report to the President. I had a look again at the present recommendations this morning, early hours, 2 o'clock this morning. And still you cannot find anything of the indigenous First Nation people right through that entire document. Not even one of us were represented on that. And it is so interesting that the late, and may her soul rest in peace, Dr. Vuya Matlati and Professor Ruud Hall was present when we had a land summit. And they know about us, but they're not saying anything. So there's no way, Deputy President, that we can go out here without having a proper discussion of what we're going to do with the 1930. Thank you very much.
Number 3. Okay. Before we're not done.
Thank you very much. Let me just clarify. The reports were given which were very detailed from commissions. And the issue that you are raising actually came out from 2 commissions, both Commission 1A and Commission 1B. So the matter was captured, as well as in Commission 3, which dealt with the matter of the Khoi and the San. So it did come. Nkosi Patakile Olomisa indicated here that because of time, they've not been able to do the detailed work. They flagged the issues. And he even committed that at the end of the week, they will share the documents and the resolutions with all of us. So that matter is addressed. I think it's important for us to assure you, if you go to the detail of the commission, clearly states the issue of the cutoff date of 1913. And that this summit said that matter must be looked at because it actually does not address the dispossession of the Khoi and the San people. So it's there. Nkosi Holomisa, even in the preamble, did raise broadly the context of the matter of the Khoi and the San. You even ululated sitting there, where he was capturing the context and again reiterated that the issue of 1913 needs to be looked at. So I'm just saying it is there. It's not lost, well captured. Thank you very much.
Me now.
Is
Is it me now?
yes. 1 minute. We're sticking to 1 minute. Rule.
Okay.
Nkosi Tata.
We've been raising the issue of implementation, and I don't want us to leave it open. I think Cabinet, as it has convened the summit, I would appreciate that Cabinet commit itself on a timetable. On a timetable on what is going to be done from now. I can understand Honorable Minister Togo Titiza about the Friday issue. Everybody is here, the Deputy President is here, Cabinet is here. Commit ourselves into a timetable or a roadmap so that if and when we meet again, we are able to hold our government accountable from what it was committed to into this important summit. Thank you very much.
Nkosi Tata. Pha ngemva.
Tla ke go dumedise motsamaisi tiro. Ko ntle ga tshenywana go nane ke re ke dumalana le go ya ka lo tlhalosa gore lo tla disa dikarabo mme hela ne ke rata gore commission time frame ke yone ya ntlha re bolele kana go gore lo tsamayang. Sa bobedi ke gore ke rural development, kera rural area and urban area. Mo resolution e nyelo e tsayang itse gore dio tse pedi tse ga di tsamaisane ene le ka moetlo wa rona gore re tsamayang. Ke ne ke re ke felle mo.
Nkosi Tata. Dikulela sro kukwisandle besikhona pha right at the back. Then nawe sisi omileyo. Then ibesa sasandla pha. Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson. Ngutobile Komazi Teta, you're from the Northern Cape.
Uthetha uphi bhuti andikuboni.
At the back,
Kweyiphi row?
row number 3.
Sikufo mntakwethu. Andibizanga wena ndibize siya isandla. Na siya right at the back ku row yesine. Nasa siphakamise iphepha pha right at the back. Mandingapha kwinkunzi.
Not me.
Ungowesibini wena sasipegqibeleni. Kodwa buna imic ungakhaba uthetha exesha kusasiwe imic pha ngemva. Yes. Thethani bantakwethu okanye ninika abanye.
Sanibona.
Thetha tata.
Endaweni yasefayed phakathi kwefayed nedumbe neUtrecht. Umhlaba awuphumi yakubantu basemaplazini. Kulinye amaplazi emele kwane amathuna abantu alinywa abelungu abamhlophe. Balwe nabantu bahlukumezile amakhosi abaxoshwa nabantu nemphathi yaxoshwayo yasekwezinye indawo. Lawo bantu abanakiwe kuze namhlanje. Kuthiwana labantu abaphakathi kwefayed nedumbe neUtrecht na. Sinenkinga lawo bantu abahlukunyezwayo abangaba abasebenza ngaphansi kwabalimi. Inkosi uSpeaker lekhulumayo ngiyathokoza.
Inkosi tata. Ingxaki kungayazi umuntu uzawuthini. Is assist.
Right. Chairperson, I just want to clarify this and to be on record. We did not agree in this summit on transfer of land to traditional councils, to traditional leaders, to CPAs, to land boards and trusts. We did not agree. We discussed the outer boundaries in the context of the question that was placed to us in terms of land administration. We could not have agreed on the transfer of outer boundaries to those entities because A, it's unconstitutional, and the Constitutional Court has already pronounced on some of these issues. Secondly, it is a very, very divisive issue. We asked in Commission 1 that we should have an opportunity to look at case studies in terms of how they are applying and what are the experiences that we can derive. We argued that on the basis of those conversations, we can then look at what works and what does not work. Presently, there are many traditional councils who have not complied with the act in terms of election, in terms of a whole range of things.
Cela ulijonge sisixesha.
Yeah, Jongile, I've timed
Okay.
myself, so take 1 minute.
Yes.
So we cannot agree on that. What we are saying is that we need to have a conversation that takes this issue beyond traditional leaders versus CPAs, traditional leaders versus municipalities. Because at the core of this is the understanding of how customary law works as a system of reciprocity between neighbors and people meeting their obligations to their community and to their land. We have also agreed that a unitary title deed that goes to a king or any structure has got to be agreed by communities, and it requires a much more detailed conversation than we have had here. We are nowhere near making these conclusions.
Enkosi. I've said 2 per row. I've said 2 per row. And kuko esisiphakamiso to those who accidentally took the receivers yesterday, please bring them back. 13 receivers are missing. Please return them to the tables. We have 3 stations here. Those who have taken receivers by mistake, please bring them back. Enkosi, I'll hand over to DM Squacha.
Hello. Lost and found, it's here on stage. Lost and found. Thank you. Khaites. Molweni. We are going to be galloping with speed. After the indication by Deputy Minister Olomisa about a thorough look and the week time frame, we are now ready to proceed to the next item on the agenda. And the next item on the agenda will be a few remarks by the chairperson of the House, Umama Mhlauli, and I now want to invite Umama to come and give us a few remarks, immediately after which Minister Titiza will give a summary, and after that, our Deputy President will speak to us and to wish us a safe journey to our destinations. Over to you, Mama.
Enkosi DM, program directors zanamhlanje, Sekela Mongameli, ikumkani zethu, abameli bekumkani abaphakathi kwethu, chairpersons and deputies from traditional houses of traditional leaders, ministers, deputy ministers, all leaders who are here, co-concerned leaders, nabantu abasha abakhona apha. Molweni. Let me first appreciate that we did manage to have this summit. As I indicated yesterday that we wanted to have this summit from 2017. And I said, this is an achievement for us. Now we are here to talk about our issues collectively. What I know, time is money, value for money. What I've noticed yesterday in my commission, everybody who was there, DP, we finished our session, everybody was there. And I know that it was happening, it has happened to other commissions. That shows commitment. And it shows the importance of the issue at hand, that is land. Also, when you are in these gatherings like these ones, you must be able, when going back, when reporting, be able to talk on what you were there for. You can have other issues. For instance, here, as traditional leaders, one thing we can think that we don't have our disputes. We have got our own disputes as traditional leaders, but you can't see that here. Because the main focus, we don't want to lose focus. We want just to deal with the issue. Here, this is land, it's about land. How I so wish for us also, whoever is here, is either you came as a group of farmers, Koyensen, just leave your differences, just focus on the issue whenever you are gathered for a particular purpose, because you'll be missing the point. The issue of behavior linked with social cohesion, with land, using your land as a tool for social cohesion and nation building. We must show, it must be shown amongst us when we are discussing these issues. Respect for one another. When someone is talking, listen. Because as a leader, for you to be listened to, you must listen to one another. Ngoba aba bantu phambi kwakho, you are leading people here. And when you are here, they are looking at your behavior. They'll do exactly what you have been doing to other leaders. So let's respect one another and listen to one another. And this is our responsibility as the National House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders. That is our responsibility is about the values of Ubuntu. That includes respect and other issues of sharing. We have been sharing here information. I also believe on ABCD, that is asset-based community development, whereby you will have to appreciate whatever is next to you. It's either a human being, or it's a young person, or it's an elderly person who has got information, regardless of education, but respecting whatever is said by whoever. So when you are here, when someone is saying something, let's respect what is said by someone, because that can assist us in building this country. And also the resources which are there in our communities. That includes land. When I'm talking about ABCD, that is asset-based community development. Land, rivers, medicine, and everything. So going back home, also look at that. When I talk about declaration, it won't take everything. It will just pick up some issues, and then we'll see what to add. As we've been, it has been suggested by Deputy Minister here, but declaration doesn't take everything, because as we've got presentations here, a lot has been there, but I hope that those presentations will be shared amongst us so that we can see that those issues have been dealt with. Deputy President, thank you very much to the government that we have reached this stage, but what is key for us? Let's remember we are all responsible for the implementation of the resolutions. This starts with us reporting back as we are representing others. So when going back and report back, those people you are reporting back to, they'll keep on reminding you as a leader, how far are you? So when I will be able to come back to those who have been leading the process. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you very much, Mama. Now we introduce to you the Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. And I dare want to say, as she finishes her summary, I respectfully ask her to introduce the Deputy President to you. Thank you very much. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister Skwatsha, and thanks to Mam Mhlauli for your comments, as well as the participants that have been with us here for the whole weekend. And I think on behalf of government, the Interministerial Committee would like to appreciate you for the time you have spent, not only today, but the time you have spent as we have been undergoing consultations at various levels. As indicated, this journey has been going on for a long, long time. We therefore appreciate your participation and have taken note of matters that you have raised, which we now have to take forward in order to ensure implementation, that we do not continuously dialogue and end up nowhere. And I think this was said very early on in the discussion by the participants, that how many other summits and fora and conferences are we going to have without implementation? So as government, led by President Cyril Ramaphosa and Deputy President, who's the leader of our IMC, we are committed to make sure that we continue to resolve on those matters that we had committed ourselves as raised by the citizens. On the issue of land reform, we continue to ensure that we listen to what our citizens have said about the resolution as speedy as is possible of the land claims that have been lodged by many communities. In this instance, one of the things we have acknowledged was that on matters of land restitution and land distribution in particular, the state needs to commit itself in working with the communities and their leaders to ensure that development is undertaken. This relates to the tools that would be required in terms of mechanization and other farmer support instruments. We've also noted that there are instances where there's an intersect between those lands that have been claimed by communities which have been transferred to them under the Communal Property Association. That it is important to find a way of ensuring that tensions do not exist, where communities and their traditional leaders, on one hand, they've got land under title deed, and on other, on customary tenure system. We said in order to ensure that there is better collaboration, there must be a situation where in the management and the administration of that land, there is inclusivity. We acknowledge that the land claims process and the decision of our Constitution in acknowledging that 1913 becomes the cutoff date has had a negative impact, particularly on the communities of the Khoi and the San. And there is an appeal that government needs to relook at that together with the legislature to make sure that that injustice is addressed. However, we say in the intervening period, it is important that government look at its available instruments that are there in law to be able to address the land needs of the Khoi and the San communities. That it's important that government also resolves with speed those land claims that were lodged, particularly by the community of the Khoi and the San, that fall within the time frames as related to the Constitution. We also appreciated that this summit is actually a culmination of work that has been happening. It's a culmination of dialogues that have been engaged. It's a culmination of the study tours that was undertaken with representatives of traditional leaders, civil societies, and communities on 2 countries to look at how they have dealt with issues of ownership and administration of land under customary tenure. And it is these consultations that were further taken into the various provinces and regions to really get a sense of the views of our people and their leaders on what they think ought to happen. And therefore, seated here today, we've had presentations and dialogues that continued in the various commissions, which has given us a sense that everybody seated here acknowledges that South Africa has a multiplicity of tenural systems that are uneven. The summit resolves that it is important that these tenural systems that are actually diverse in our country must be accepted and all of them must be legally secured, which therefore means moving here, government needs to make sure that there is policy and legal framework that actually strengthen that security of tenure as it has been reflected. There's also been discussions that we need to look at the modalities of how this land holding needs to happen, take into consideration the variations that are there from community to community. And I think all of us have acknowledged that it is important that whatever legal framework or policy that we put in place must take into consideration the constitution of our country, particularly on issues of equality and gender, such that these issues do find expression in the decisions that we make. We're also saying it's important to build capacity of our citizens as they take ownership of this infinite resource that is there. We appreciate that as we intersect with this dialogue going forward in terms of implementation, we will be informed by each and every locality and its situation. We also appreciate that there are specific questions that have been raised, which different ministers of the IMC will address, issues that has been raised by Abasemakatini flat, the farmers, and where there might be a tension, and I don't think it's an issue of Makatini flats alone, but it's an issue where, during the homeland system, some, as well as the apartheid system before, actually allocated land to some of those people who were farmers, and when the land claims process came, you'd find that some of those lands get affected. Makatini flat is one, Kapros in Mpumalanga is other, and there may be many others around the country. And what I gather coming out of here is, yes, this may not be the problem of the democratic state. However, we're appealing for the democratic state to ensure that we resolve and manage so that there is no tensions among community as a result of the decisions that are made, so that it actually allows for tenure security and development in the communities in rural areas. I think I've summarized without being detailed what I gathered as the discussions that we held. I now would like to invite Deputy President to close the summit.
Thank you very much. we can take our seats. Program directors, thank you for the time that you have accorded to us. Our kings and queens, and all traditional leaders in our midst. Thank you very much for staying the course. We feel very reinforced and respected by yourself. We are not taking this respect for granted. We really appreciate it. Our ministers and deputy ministers, our premiers and MECs, our communities and civil society, ladies and gentlemen, I must single out the leadership of the COI and the SEN, and saying thank you very much for participating. I saw there were turbulences along the way, but I hope going forward will be fine. The leadership of Contralesa, thank you for taking part and committing yourself going forward to participate in this process. We have reached the end of our two-day summit. Once more, let me take this opportunity to thank everyone, all those who have participated, who have contributed into shaping the outcome of this summit. The summit, in its conceptualization and the spirit, affirmed that land issue remains important, an important matter that collectively as a country we should continue to engage on and continue to resolve for the good of our people. I want to assure the summit that all the issues that have been raised here will be taken seriously. We will endeavor to give progress report from time to time as we proceed. This is not just another talk show. We're going to report on progress that we're going to make on all the issues that you have raised. You see us here, we are an interministerial committee of ministers that has been appointed by the President to deal with this matter. And above all, we've got an extended interministerial task team still to look at this matter. In both instances, the Deputy President chairs these two committees. So you'll have to hold me responsible. I'll be responsible to record progress on all the issues that you have raised. I must thank the meeting, the summit, for the manner you have conducted yourself as participants, your behavior, with a few exceptions there and there. That I want to request that the House should forgive those exceptions. But overall, the behavior was good. Kosi Kiliza, forgive us Ngibonile sowusukuma lapha ngiyabona ukuthi cha kukhona konakalayo. The matters that were presented here in the commissions, in plenary, I think were thoroughly canvassed. We are satisfied on our side that you had a discussion and you have aired your views on these matters. We are taking your views very serious. We're not taking them for granted. It was not just an excursion for us to come here. It was a serious summit about a serious matter that affects our people. So we're taking it in that spirit. Going forward, we are going to consolidate all these issues. Remember, we report elsewhere. We're going to consolidate all the views that we've got here, and we'll put them before Cabinet as soon as possible for further guidance. And I'm sure beyond Cabinet, there will be an announcement that you will hear, probably from Cabinet, about these matters. I want to promise that we're going to take these views back to Cabinet, the Cabinet that has sent us here. This summit has been convened under the permission of the President, under the sanction of Cabinet. I take it that there's consensus that is emerging. We tend to agree. There are a few issues where we don't agree, because we are different communities. We come from different places. Our experiences are very different, which we appreciate. So there can be one size fit all. But we have heard you. The policy options that we're going to develop going forward are going to take into consideration the views and your feelings. We take it, you represent communities in rural areas, you represent our traditional leaders, you represent our kings and queens. So this is a full house. But we are not going to force a view down the throat of a community. We're going to respect a view and how that community wants to manage its own affairs. So the policy that finally we might adopt might consider 2 or 3 options that will accommodate us as communities where we live, will accommodate us as traditional leaders. Now, the last matter that I want to address, the matter of our COI and SEN leadership. I can see that from time to time, you don't really trust. You don't trust what we say as government. You don't trust that. From today onwards, I think we must improve on our trust. And we are going to demonstrate that in our workings. we're going to work with you to shape out a decision that would suit you as a community. We are not going to impose anything on you. And sitting here, the commission that was assigned to look at the COI and SEN matters, I think it has done the best job. We must give them a round of applause. We are going to take on all those issues and will pursue them. Now, there's a request that we must create a committee that will solely deal with matters that are affecting our COI and SEN leaders and communities. From where we are as a delegation coming from government, we share the same view. Our duty is to try and convince Cabinet that this committee is necessary for us to proceed. So we are moving out of this summit with the view that we have found one another. We found one another and we can proceed. Now, the established protocol that we want to follow going forward is that from time to time we'll find a way of giving you progress report. We are going to use the platform that has been given to us by the National House of Traditional Leaders, together with all provincial houses. We are going to find a way of giving progress report to our rural communities in the manner that they've organized themselves, so that all of us view or move at the same pace. The matter of the COI and the SEN leadership, we are going to present the view of a committee to Cabinet, and if that is adopted, then that committee will take all the matters and will consult with this community of our COI and SEN leadership and the people. Let me take this opportunity to thank everyone who contributed to this successful summit. I think we've got reason enough to be happy about the outcome. We've got reason enough to take this product and move forward and shape the life of our people that are living under the jurisdiction of traditional leaders, the life of our communities that are living in rural areas. This time, the spotlight is shining on those people. On behalf of Cabinet, we want to say thank you very much for your attendance, and we are going to give you feedback as we go along so that we move together. Thank you very much. May you travel safely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, the resolutions committee is requested to proceed after we adjourn here to Waterkloof, and the rest of the leadership would be proceeding with the Deputy President. And Sisibusi ukudla. Is there no announcement about